Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 22. Sataya Shraddhaya Yukta Stasya Radhanam Ihate Labhate Cha Tata Kaman Mayeva Vihitan Hitan. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So Krishna has been telling Arjuna that persons whose intelligence is bewildered, they worship the demigods. Then in the next verse, we heard yesterday Krishna telling Arjuna that because Krishna is the Paramatma in the heart, and he understands the desire of the living entity. And based on this desire, he makes the faith of the living entity strong in a particular demigod. And because Krishna is also the Paramatma in the heart of that particular demigod, so Krishna, as the Paramatma in the heart of the demigod, inspires that demigod to give the benediction, to fulfill the desire of the living entity. The power to give benedictions, the demigods' power to give benedictions, they get it from Krishna. It is not their independent power. The demigods are seats, they are posts, like how there are the ministers in the cabinet. One day, one can be the education minister, Mr. X and X, he's the education minister today, but in the next government, he may not be. So people change, but the post remains. So similarly, the demigods, these are posts, Surya, Chandra, Varuna, Lord Brahma, all these are posts, and qualified living entities are appointed in this post. So Krishna is saying, he's the one who's giving the benefits. The person may approach the demigod for fulfillment of desire, but only after Krishna sanctions such a fulfillment of desire that the desire actually gets fulfilled. So if one is intelligent, then one will directly approach Krishna instead of approaching the demigods. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So we have forgotten that everything belongs to God. But the demigods, why they are qualified, why they are put in such important positions? Because they don't forget. They know everything belongs to God. They are simply the caretakers in the management of the universe. So the worship of the demigods and achievement of desired results are not due to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. So it is God who fulfills all our desires. We may worship a particular demigod. We may worship Durga Devi. We may worship Lord Shiva. We may worship Lord Ganesh. Oh, there's so many. There are 33 crores demigods, We may worship Saraswati Devi. There's so many. And our desires will get fulfilled when we approach them sometimes. And then what happens is we'll say, oh, wow, this is amazing. I just pray to this demigod and my desire is fulfilled. This demigod is the best personality. And like this, our faith increases. But it's Krishna who is doing this entire arrangement. Why? Because Krishna fulfills our desires. Whatever is our desire, Krishna fulfills that. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. The demigods also they don't like when we approach them to give us material benefit, because they are loyal servants of Krishna, when we worship them separate of Krishna, thinking that they are God, it's like bribing a government officer. It's like taking bribes, and they don't like that. We have to understand the correct position of demigods, that they are eternal servants of Krishna. That is the way to understand the position of the demigods. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. So a devotee of God, a devotee of Krishna, he does not go to the demigod for a particular benediction. He has some need, he has some desire, he prays to Krishna. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. So the pure devotee never asks anything material from Krishna. But everyone is not a pure devotee as yet. They may be pure devotees in the making. So there may be still material desires. Then what to do? Who will fulfill our material desires? We still go to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam says, we have a lot of material desires, we have no material desire, or we desire liberation. Doesn't matter. Just surrender to Krishna. Just worship Krishna. Ask Krishna, whatever material desire we have, we want something. Although it is lower than pure devotion, still ask Krishna. Why? Because by worshipping Krishna, gradually, we will be free of our material desires and we will be liberated from this material world and go back home, back to Godhead. By worshipping the demigods, we will continue to live in the material world. The demigods cannot stop our birth, death, old age, and disease. They cannot stop it. They cannot give us liberation. It's only Krishna who can give us liberation. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Caitanya Caritamrta, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. Devotional service is spiritual when it is done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. It is completely on the transcendental platform. When it is done, when devotional service is performed for our desire, then devotional service is in the modes of nature. Then it is in the modes of nature, just like we were hearing in Bhagavatam. Lord Kapila, they were saying, if we have ulterior desires which we want to be fulfilled by engaging in devotional service, that is devotional service in the modes of nature. But by continuing to engage in devotional service under the guidance of a spiritual master, we will come to this perfect platform, the perfectional platform. Because it's a science, so it will happen. We just continue hearing and chanting, continue with enthusiasm, with patience, with determination, following the four regulative principles, following the instructions of the spiritual master, and we can come to this platform. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. So we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.